In the crucible of the Second World War, the German Panzer force was the stuff of legend. Names like Panther, Tiger, and King Tiger were whispered with a mix of awe and terror. To the German Panzer crews, they were the masters of the battlefield, their superior armor and high-velocity cannons making them the apex predators of armored warfare. For a time, they believed their dominance was absolute. They often looked upon American armor, particularly the ubiquitous M4 Sherman, with a degree of professional contempt. But as the war raged on, from the deserts of Africa to the hedgerows of Normandy and the forests of the Ardennes, that confidence began to erode. The Americans didn't just have one answer, they had many. An arsenal of armored vehicles, each with its own deadly purpose. German tank crews started encountering vehicles they couldn't just dismiss. Machines that were faster, carried shockingly powerful guns, or simply refused to die. In their after-action reports and post-war memoirs, a new tone emerged. Caution, respect, and sometimes genuine fear. This is the story of the American tanks that taught the Panzers to be afraid. To rank these machines, we're not just looking at which tank had the biggest gun or the thickest armor. We're viewing this through the eyes of the enemy. Our criteria are, first, psychological impact. Which vehicles forced German commanders to change their tactics and issue specific warnings about them? Second, lethality. How effectively could this vehicle kill a Panther or a Tiger? And third, strategic threat. Which vehicles were deployed in significant enough numbers and with the right doctrine to pose a consistent, war-altering threat to the Panzer forces? Before we begin, we must honor the undisputed workhorse, the standard M4 Sherman. While German tankers did not fear the individual Sherman, they had a deep and abiding dread of what it represented, the swarm. According to historian Steven Zaloga, the Germans respected the Sherman's fast turret traverse and its gyro stabilizer, but they knew their Panthers and Tigers could kill it from a mile away. What they couldn't counter was the fact that for every one Tiger tank the Germans built, the Americans built nearly 40 Shermans. They didn't fear the tank. They were terrified of the factory that built it, and the relentless flanking attacks from a platoon of Shermans that would eventually overwhelm them. Kicking off our list is a vehicle that wasn't a tank at all, but whose speed and audacity made it a battlefield terror. The M8 light armored car, the Greyhound. As the primary vehicle of the U.S. cavalry reconnaissance squadrons, its job was to be the eyes and ears of the army. German tank columns were constantly unnerved by lightning-fast raids from Greyhound crews on their flanks and rear supply lines. While its 37mm gun was useless against a Panther, it was more than enough to shred a supply truck. To the slow-moving German heavy tank columns, the Greyhounds were ghosts. And in one legendary, though debated incident during the Battle of the Bulge, an M8 crew reportedly used their incredible speed to get behind a massive King Tiger, firing 3 rounds into its thin rear armor and knocking it out. It was a 1-in-a-million shot, a David versus Goliath story that perfectly captures the terror this little ghost could inspire. By 1944, German Panther and Tiger crews had grown arrogant in their encounters with the standard M4 Sherman. Then came the M4 Sherman, 76. It looked almost identical, but it had a nasty surprise: the new, high-velocity 76mm M1 cannon. While the Panther's sloped front hull remained nearly impenetrable, the 76mm gun could, at normal combat ranges, punch through the Panther's turret mantlet, its gun shield. This created a terrifying uncertainty. German crews could no longer sit in the open with impunity. They had to hide their turrets and expose only their strongest armor. This doubt was amplified by the introduction of high-velocity armor-piercing (HVAP) rounds. While very rare, with most crews carrying only 1 or 2 rounds, the fear that any given Sherman might have one was a powerful psychological weapon. The Sherman 76 didn't always win the fight, but it terrified the Panzers by turning their easy prey into a potential predator. The number 3 spot goes to the fastest tracked armored vehicle of the entire war, the M18 Hellcat. The Hellcat was the purest expression of the American tank destroyer doctrine: seek, strike, and destroy. It was a purpose-built, clean-sheet design engineered for one thing above all else: speed. Powered by a radial aircraft engine, the Hellcat could appear where it was least expected, moving faster than a Panzer crew could traverse their turret. Its 76mm gun was lethal against the side armor of any German tank. The Germans, whose doctrine relied on heavy, powerful tanks, were often baffled by the Hellcat's shoot-and-scoot tactics. Post-war analysis by the Wehrmacht noted that the Hellcat's extreme mobility made it a difficult and unnerving target. German tankers learned to fear the sudden appearance of a 76mm shell from an unseen flank, followed by the sound of a radial engine disappearing over the horizon. It was a phantom they simply could not catch. During the Battle of the Bulge, as German King Tigers and Panthers smashed through American lines, a new vehicle arrived just in time to turn the tide: the 90mm gun motor carriage M36, nicknamed the Jackson. The M36 was a glass cannon, built on a Sherman chassis with thin armor, but it carried the one thing that truly terrified German tankers: the high-velocity 90mm M3 gun. The Germans had no idea the Americans had fielded a gun this powerful in large numbers. Panther crews who had felt invincible were suddenly being knocked out from over 1,000 yards away by an enemy they often couldn't even see. With specialized HVAP rounds, the M36 could even penetrate the immense frontal armor of the dreaded King Tiger. The M36 was a dedicated assassin. Its ability to kill the most powerful German tanks on the field from ambush created a new and terrifying threat that forced Panzer commanders to advance with extreme caution. It was a technological shock from which their morale never fully recovered. The number 1 spot on this list isn't the tank with the biggest gun. It's the tank the Germans simply couldn't kill. The M4 A3E2 Sherman, universally known as the Jumbo. And it terrified the Panzers because it broke all the rules they understood about American tanks. The Jumbo was an assault tank, a Sherman up-armored to an insane degree. An additional 1.5-inch plate was welded to the front, giving it 102 millimeters of frontal armor, the same as a Tiger one. Its new turret was a fortress, with a gun mantlet that was nearly 7 inches, 178 millimeters, thick. The Germans, used to their 75mm and 88mm guns slicing through Shermans, were horrified to find their shots bouncing off. German after-action reports are filled with panicked accounts of Jumbos absorbing multiple hits from Panthers and even Tigers and continuing to fight. They were used to spearhead attacks, drawing fire while the more vulnerable but harder-hitting tank destroyers maneuvered to kill the enemy. To a German gunner, there was nothing more terrifying than hitting an enemy tank dead-on and watching the shell ricochet. The Jumbo shattered their sense of technological superiority. It was an unstoppable monster that just kept coming, a psychological weapon as much as a steel one. The Greyhound's speed, the Sherman 76's surprise, the Hellcat's phantom tactics, the Jackson's shocking power, and the Jumbo's sheer toughness. Each of these vehicles challenged the myth of Panzer dominance in its own unique way. They proved that American armored success wasn't about creating a single supertank, but about fielding a diverse, pragmatic, and powerful arsenal of machines designed to win the war. They were the tanks that taught the masters of the Blitzkrieg a new kind of fear. Which American tank do you think was the most effective? Did we get the ranking right? Let us know in the comments below. And for more deep dives into the machines of war, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell.